Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is This Week in Base Hit. Once again, I am your host, Zubaz, and that over there marking the time so we don't go over 15 minutes. And if we do, it's generally my fault. That is Clone. Clone,
How you doing, man?
how's your week?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Can't complain. How you doing?
Now you asked me.
What you got?
Ask me why my
How you
week.
doing, man? How you
No,
doing? I want. You told me that you thought you knew what I was going to ask, so I just want to
Yeah.
ask you stupid questions today.
Oh, all
Hey,
right.
man, what's your favorite bird?
It's the
Man.
bald eagle, baby. You know I love America. Look at this. Look at this room. It looks like I
That's
stormed
true.
the Capitol on January 6th over here. If the Capitol was Texas.
All right, here we go.
Uh,
What's going on?
But you know, I got this A's hat on.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, because you know how much I love and have a fascination for both Canseco brothers. There's Ozzie Canseco and Jose Canseco when they played for the Madison Muskies back in the 80s.
I did not know this.
The first baseball game I ever went to for the Muskies, Jose Canseco was playing at that game. He did not hit a home run. He struck out 3 times, but it's all right. I just got this in the mail from legitimately from Jose Canseco himself.
Okay.
Sent me a signed jersey. Look at that. That's Jose Canseco there.
That's very
Sent-
nice.
I've been trying to, I think you probably know, but I've been trying to develop this relationship with him because for my plan was for the next big tournament that, and I'm only telling you this because it failed, but for the next big tournament, I wanted to bring Jose Canseco in instead of Dwight Gooden, right?
Dwight Gooden, yeah.
Yeah. And so I did get Jose Canseco. You can see there that he's following me on Instagram, right? So like we did develop a conversation, and then I don't know if you could see it from the conversation, but first thing I'm showing him right there is BaseHit, right? So I'm telling him about BaseHit, and we actually started talking, and I sent him. Oh, this is actually, I wasn't planning on showing this, but I think this is funny. I sent him this picture of Mark McGwire with his brother, just to refute the fact that he introduced him to steroids, because we all know it was Mark McGwire's bodybuilding brother. Breaking news on the podcast, but and it was like, I was like, we're going to do a podcast together, and like he agreed to it, everything. So we're going to do a podcast together, and then Jose Canseco flipped and went full Jose Canseco, and wanted like $20,000.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I guess this isn't happening.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I talked to Jose Canseco, and all I got was this shirt. All right, but this is still pretty damn cool, and I love you very much, Jose. If you're watching, you're still the greatest.
It's a good looking hat.
Yep. Good looking hat. Great jersey. I'm gonna frame it up.
You knew that I was going to ask you how many wins Dave Stewart had in 1988. That was what you looked up at.
Yeah, 22. No, I actually don't know. It's probably 18.
That might be pretty close, actually.
Yeah. Wait, let's look it up. Dave Stewart, what year?
1988.
Oh,
I had 21.
I might have nailed it. 1988, he had 21. I was close.
Nice.
Dude, he had a nice little stretch there. 4 20-win games, 20-win seasons in a row, but only 1 All-Star appearance his entire career. What a sham.
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
He finished top 3 in the Cy Young 3 out of those 4 years and was only All-Star once. Sham. Or must have been better on the backside. That's the fatal flaw of the Major League All-Star game, is that it's in the middle of the season when before the best players get the hottest. Right?
All right, we're gonna do an all MLB episode this time. Is it? Now you got me thinking.
Yeah, it's a shame.
So nicely timed. I mean,
it's nicely timed, and it's
all
great
the All-Star games
and it's great
have
for the
problems.
game. It's great for the game. It's a great place. All the teams are a little beat up in midseason and getting those extra days off. It's great for all the reasons other than the all-stars are only the fast starters. And the fan vote screwed it up too, because then a bunch of guys that are hurt get in. It's not as bad as it used to be. When it was full fan voting, you remember, like, who was the guy that got in and didn't play a game?
I don't remember.
He hadn't played a game the whole season. It was probably Jeter. Screw the Yankees.
I'm still harboring resentment because of not getting voted to the All-Star game and my last baseball All-Star team when I totally should have been. I got robbed, but anyway.
What are you talking about?
Because the players voting. Doesn't matter.
Who was it?
No, this is my personal baseball career.
Oh, you personally got robbed.
I personally got robbed.
Oh, yeah, you should have been there.
Fan vote. Player vote. Whatever.
You're not a fan's favorite?
I wasn't that time. Anyway.
What do you think you did wrong?
Oh, I wasn't
too competitive.
Buddies. No, I wasn't. I wasn't buddies with the other kids on the other team,
Yeah.
I wasn't. Yeah. No, I wasn't in school with most of the kids. I don't know.
Oh.
They all like grew up together.
So, yep. Whatever. And you were 6 years older.
Yeah. My steroid.
You were actually the assistant coach.
Steroid rage was so bad. All right, since we're on MLB, I was going to contact you yesterday, as the Brewers almost got no hit. Were you following that the whole time?
I watched the game live. It was stressful. Paul Skeens, and I expected when they pulled Paul Skeens out between the 7th and 8th that he was going to go in and just blame the manager, because this is the second time they pulled him out during a no-hitter this year because he's on a strict 100-pitch count. And as soon as he hit it, they pulled him. I mean, times have changed in baseball, because like he was high-fiving everybody, went and sat down. And I was like, I would be incensed, because the inning before he got out with like 5 or 6 pitches. Like, he could have kept going. Yeah, you got to give him a chance. It was a no-hitter. It wasn't a one-hitter. It was, gross.
All right, we can tie it into the game now, because we're talking about it. We talked about last week about pitch counts.
Yeah.
And how, I don't know if we talked about it on here, but that we could possibly, one of the things we could do to GameView would be watch the pitch counts go up as it goes on.
Yep, I would love to see that. And how I floated a more crazy idea, like where you could do a detailed game view where you could actually see the pitches come in, so you knew what the counts were. Wow. I don't think people would be as into it as I would be, but I think that's how we got started on it. But I think the pitch count alone is a good idea.
Be curious, to watch how tired the pitchers are.
Yep. Because that would be cool, because like we would have the actual ability to show how close they were. Maybe even you couldn't do to the pitch, but you could do an approximation to the pitch of when they were going to get pulled. And then
it would get you really. We got some people that would. The steam will be coming out of their ears when.
Maybe, but I think, I mean, they have settings for that. They can fix that. They can put their pitcher deeper. They know what his EN is.
I know some people want 100% control of their pitchers, but we know if you had great. What?
It would be great. I would love it so much, but especially if you're getting no hit and all of a sudden you're seeing them count down. And you're like, that SOB has 8 pitches left. And then he comes in, he just like gets 3 pop-ups, and you're like, oh no, gotta deal with this guy for another inning. It would be great. It would be fun.
Have that he's getting pulled, and then you don't know who's coming in.
Yeah.
Coming in is
Bullpen Logic.
Joe Schmo. You son of a bitch. I can't believe that's true.
You shouldn't have put him as the setup one.
I would enjoy it too, but I'm also, this is part of the sim world, is that you just give into you're giving into a certain amount of luck, a certain amount of randomness. Because if you did it the other way, I mean, I'm just trying to go back to, we have that ongoing argument going on in Discord about bullpen logic, and I do understand the frustration. Yeah. But if we did it how some people want, where you have complete control of it, you'd have one reliever, right?
Oh, it'd be totally broken. It would be totally
You'd use
broken.
the same guy every damn game.
There has to be some probability, and there has to be some consequence for having shitty relievers. There has to be some consequence for that. And the consequence is the probabilities. And the probabilities in there aren't all that bad. It's just sometimes the roll of the dice is going to bring in the worst of two pitchers that are fully rested. But if you look at like MLB, like they're using 7, 8 relievers deep, 9 relievers deep. And so like they don't have a choice sometimes. They got to bring in, you know, a guy that they'd prefer not to.
You said it last week in terms of if everybody's using the same rules, then you've got it's the same thing. Everybody knows that it's probabilistic and that your different relievers are going to pitch sometimes. So if you know that both of your middle relievers have a chance to come in the game, then you got to think about how much money you're going to put in there, as opposed to just thinking I should just be able to have one guy that gets used over and over and over again.
And here's a hot tip. We're talking about pitch counts. We're talking about relievers. If you're in, I know you can't, most people can't do it during the regular season unless it's something they're obsessing over. But in the playoffs, if you're not taking your starting pitcher in and your setting into account for whether you put your best reliever as a middle reliever or a setup guy, you're making a huge mistake, because you can increase your odds of your best reliever coming in by placing him in the right place where you think he's going to get put in. And then you look at the other team, and if they have a lot of high DI guys, you gotta figure that in. If they have a lot of low DI guys, just put the guys closer in case of a close game. Like there's a lot of like advanced gameplay theory that you should put in that can increase your odds. That's the fun of the game. Because you can't control it entirely, because this is a general manager simulation. It's not a field manager simulation. So we can only go so far with like the control of the in-game thing. Like actually outside of bullpen logic, the one thing I would like to see in the game is the ability to create steal options by player. I think that makes some sense, even though the calculation does a pretty good job of taking that into account. But if you do have Ricky Henderson, a bunch of Jason Varitek's on your team, like it would be nice to just crank him up, and let him go. But that's a different subject.
Well, tell me more. No, I want to know about that, because I mean, in the individual moment, I understand that it's frustrating. Like, why didn't you run there, and why didn't you whatever? But if you look at the season totals or whatever,
it works out.
We have huge stolen base numbers for some guys. I mean, are we supposed to have guys that are stealing like 400 stolen bases? I mean, what or and you have tiny stolen base, but I do understand that there's those individual moments where, like, Jesus Christ.
Well, and I'm not sure if I mentioned it on here, but the thing that people have to take into consideration is, why did my 18 speed guy try to steal it all? Because that's not realistic. But you got to understand that the way that the sim was built initially also takes into account things like pass balls, wild pitches, drop things. So there's going to be some level of slow guys trying to run, and sometimes they're going to get caught. But you see, like I had, the reason I said 18 steal is in one of my leagues, I have a guy that has an 18 speed, and he stole 2 bases in one game, which is so absurd. But that's probably probably what happened, right? Like there are wild pitches or something, and they're getting counted as steals. Now that's not exactly how you'd want to do it if you were doing it from scratch, but there has to be some accounting for additional bases, not based on or based on those other situations that could happen in a baseball game. So whenever I see it and he gets caught trying to steal home or something with like 2 outs with your best hitter on, you have to not think, okay, he thought it was a good idea to steal, and think something else, some other dynamic was happening in the game that forced that situation. I think, at least for me, psychologically, that makes me feel a little bit better about a crazy situation like that.
If you look up the slowest mofos in MLB that you remember, I can't think of who we're talking about right now, but if you look them up, most all of them have an attempt or 2 every season, right?
Yeah.
And it's always some stupid situation.
It's always a stupid situation.
It's a ridiculous situation where if you had thought about it, there would never be a time that you would send that guy, but obviously something happened. So then if it's a tiny little odds and you're simulating it again on our side and you're rolling the dice on tiny little odds, it's going to happen every so often.
I don't know if you know who Rowdy Tellez is, but he's like a 300-pound first baseman that used to play for the Brewers. And there was a situation where there was all right. But there was a situation where he was on second, another guy was on first, and pitch came in, and the catcher tried to do I can't even think of the term, but a throw to first, like a throwback to first to try to get that guy. And Rowdy Tellez was already between second and third because he was just kind of crow hopping. And so he just took off to third and he stole third base.
No.
But that was just like a wild situation. There's no way in humanity that Rowdy Tellez would ever intentionally try to steal third base, you know? But he did.
Here's our sending us off. You know what time it is.
You know what time it is. All right. It's time to end the week in baseball. Jose, I'm still going to land you one day. We will always love you. Until next time, we are out of here. They changed the whole setup on Zoom. Okay, we're out of here.